I'm so happy to be here now with Sam Manchulenko. Sam, thank you for joining me today. I'm really happy to have this opportunity to meet with you. I've heard so many nice things about you, and so this is a real honor and a privilege. Can you tell me how you're feeling today?
Wow. Thanks, Todd. Um, I'm feeling amazing today because
Yay.
I'm in New York. I love studying with Dharma, and I just got in a couple days ago, and I feel like, you know, just kind of living off his high vibes.
Cool. Yeah, some of those of you that are watching on YouTube saw Sam's hands kind of like moving around her head. So I was going to ask you what talk a little more about like what you feel, what you're feeling.
Well, um, you know, the shortcut. So yoga, the practice, I guess they would say there is no shortcut. You just practice, but there's something I find that happens when I'm sitting in the presence of someone who really embodies the practice that these moments in time you get to feel it feels like a shortcut. So when
Yeah.
I'm sitting with Dharma, he's so established in curiosity and playfulness and compassion that, well, I mean, it says this in the Bhagavad Gita too. It says that we don't heal the world through like rajas, through like forcing and changing and pointing fingers, but by becoming established in that vibration of sattva, or that vibration of unconditional love, that vibration goes out and affects everything it touches. So there's this feeling when I'm close to Dharma that just that flow of unconditional love that I perceive as coming from him, it's a wonderful gift to be in.
Yes. Yes. Do you have hopes that if you continue with the yoga practice, you'll have that same effect on the people that you study and practice with?
Well, I know that I can't do it. I know it's not me. I also know, like, as much as we say it's being in Dharma, I also know it's not Dharma. And Dharma wants us to know it's not him. And yes, I would love everyone around me to feel happier and more joyful.
Yeah.
And I can also see that that has been an attachment in my life that has caused some suffering. And even though it seems like a kind thing to want to alleviate suffering and for others to be happy, this kind of like diving right where I am in my practice right now is is realizing what I'm working on learning right now is the value of the challenges and the darker emotions and the I guess it's the unconditional love to hold space for all of those too.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
so being non-attached about that desire.
well said. Doesn't it almost seem a little like wanting to be able to positively affect others might actually be a hindrance, and therefore, by actually just being ourselves, that somehow that then might translate into them noticing that. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes. And another spin that just came up in my head too, um, is wanting to have that effect on others, is treating them or perceiving them as not being perfect in
That's
that
true. That's
moment. So
interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
it's like judging that. I often joke that Jerry Seinfeld is another one of my gurus. And
Yeah,
I
I
was
love.
listening to a great interview of his yesterday where he was sharing about posting like old bits of his comedy. And someone else said to him, like, oh, like, were you embarrassed? Or when I look at my old stuff, I hate it. And he says, no, you can't do that. Like, that was just a necessary, rope bridge that you had to cross to get there. And I was like, oh, that's just so wise to know wherever someone is. So my desire for someone to feel better than they are is is not noticing that where they are is a necessary step on
Yeah,
their journey.
yeah. Is the first thing that popped in my head there is I noticed you facilitate yoga teacher trainings. Is that correct?
Hmm.
So, have you found situations where you're facilitating those and the energy is going a little, I don't know, sideways or awry in relation to the way what your intended concept that you're trying to portray is maybe not landing the way you thought? And then the students, there's a little bit of friction somewhere. Is that something that you've experienced before? I'm just curious.
I'm dropping in.
You
Um,
can take, yeah, you can take long pauses. I know I'll ask you hard questions, so you can take as much time as you would like to answer.
the first yoga teacher training I led was the most challenging. And some really challenging things, a very challenging experience happened in one of the students' life. Her partner passed expectedly,
Yeah,
and it was a very small group. So, I mean that changed the course, not by any, just by the natural flow of what was being dealt with and how the teachings were.
that's a good example. Yep.
Yeah, like what's happening in life. I guess, the other time when I was doing teacher training and then COVID, I think a lot of us experienced that. Oh, okay. Now this is shifting.
How are we going to deal with this? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dharma, I'm sure you've, probably heard Andrew say, like, just to dance with it. Dharma often says, like, you dance with it, whatever's happening, you dance with it. And when I do the trainings, there's always a picture of Dharma. And a lot of us that study with them were like, Dharma says, Dharma says, Dharma says, So hopefully, I always imagine that it's somehow like we can serve as a channel and we're not really teaching it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like living in Canada in the winter where you are? I believe you're in Winnipeg, which is
Yeah.
that Manitoba County?
It's Manitoba is the province. Yeah. Very good.
And you're north in relation to the United States, north of North Dakota.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the scenery like and what's the weather like right now in the winter? I'm down in Florida, and so I just try to imagine how do they do it up there? How do they do it? Because I'm not good in cold weather. I need to get better at it.
Yeah. It's funny. There's often people say, well, I'm a yogi. I'm not affected by the cold. I've heard someone say that here before. I'm like, go live in Winnipeg. See if you're still a yogi. It's definitely, it can be a challenge. I'm also, yeah, like so for me, I struggle with it. I love to be outside and my brother lives in Florida, so I love when I'm visiting there and
Oh,
being
cool.
outside and
Where is he in Florida?
he's in Winter Garden.
Nice.
Hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's really nice to be there. And there's some beauty in the winter too. I have one of my good friends is from the Netherlands, and she loves winter, and I love watching how she embraces it and cross country skis. And whenever I go back in the cold, there's a silence, like a different kind of silence when everything is covered in snow. It's a stillness at times. It's a teacher. Everything is,
I
yeah,
agree with you. I agree. Any hardship, if we can somehow turn it into ooh, this is a fun learning lesson. Is
yeah.
always feels like we jump a hurdle somehow.
Hmm.
Can you share with us why do you think yoga came into your life?
Oh, why do I think yoga came into my life?
Or we could reverse that question and ask it more from the angle of like, why do you think what attracted you to yoga when you first start to be curious or inquisitive? Like, what's this yoga thing?
Yeah, I didn't like it in the beginning.
What was the setting?
So, you know what? It did come into my life. It's like it had to say, hey, you're coming this way, whether you like it or not. Uh, the first setting, I was a dancer and I lived in Toronto, was training there and in the late 90s. And our teacher brought in a yoga teacher for kind of like cross training. And I would always leave at Shavasana. I'm like, oh, that makes me tired for ballet, so now I'm like, oh, the best part. So in the beginning, it helps me. My body, dance was my first yoga. When I danced, I felt completely present. My mind was off. I was in my body. And so then I started to notice when I had an injury and I couldn't dance to the same, then yoga was a way that I could get into my body and meditation. And my mind was so busy and so unkind. And really, yoga, I needed the mental yoga. I mean, that's what it is. It's not the poses. I love when Dharma says you don't have to do any of these postures. It's really about understanding who you really are. I was very confused about who I was, and um, my belief in who I was wasn't measuring up to anything of value. So there was a deep sadness and heaviness. And yoga came and shook that up and turned it all around. And
Yeah, good
yeah.
answer. Good answer. What do you think shares similarity? I feel like you answered this a little bit already, the first half of this question, but the second half, I'm really curious. What do you feel dance and yoga share in commonality? And where do you feel like dance and yoga are very different?
Well, it really depends on your how you're coming at it. So I didn't love yoga. I liked yoga. It was fine, but I didn't love it until I started Dharma yoga. And in Dharma yoga, Dharma shares to offer the poses. And so when you're offering it, like, it's not making a shape, but it's imagining you are that, which is how I danced. When I danced, I felt like whatever I was expressing, I just felt like I was that. Like it felt like something else was moving my body. And when I practice Dharma yoga, it really does, when you're offering it, it's like you're offering it to whatever this infinite creative source inside of you is saying, here, like, enjoy doing
That's
this through
cool.
this body and seeing through this and hearing this way. And then I can say what it has differently. I think that's the intention of yoga, is this oneness, is like to feel our connection to, like there's the surface self, so all the images at the ripples at the top of the ocean, but to know that there's this, how we're connected. There's one thing expressing through all these shapes. And
Yeah.
in dance, um, because if you wanted to do it as a career, there was this competitiveness that came in where it wasn't just being that shape. The shape you were being was never enough. You had to push it a little harder, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That makes perfect sense. I was never a dancer beyond going to a concert and dancing and having fun, but not like yeah, like I always respect I get a chance to speak with dancers and I love hearing about that how the transition and the appreciation for one and both in the other. Do you still occasionally, maybe you don't put point shoes on, but do you still move your body in the way that you have been trained since you got started in that world?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
still the person that lives in the condo above me plays the piano. And I love, like, I moved into my condo right in COVID. I had no furniture, and I would love when I'd hear the piano, like, this is the studio.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do notice sometimes my body will just, especially if it's happy, it just dances. I think dancing and singing are natural medicine that we're meant to have. And I think yoga also brought me back to that, like just kirtan. I love singing kirtan for just the devotional aspect of singing versus before I was insecure of my voice, like, oh, I can't sing, I'm not good enough. I'm like, oh, this is an offering too. Everyone can do it. So, but yeah, I'll catch myself. If I'm really happy, I won't even notice. I'm like, oh, it's dancing. Okay.
That's cool, Sam. So you currently teach in Canada. Do you have a studio? Do you work at a studio or do you work solely online?
I don't have a studio. I rent studio space when I'm there, but I primarily teach workshops. So I do the teacher training and I study a lot with Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle as well.
Ah,
And so I don't know if you know Byron Katie, but all of her work is about the mind.
I've never read any of her books yet. I have her in my queue. I've heard other people that are wanting to do, isn't she the one that kind of to coins the term, or one of the people that really popularized the term of like do the work? Is that is that
Um,
Katie Byron? Like
for her technique is called the work.
the work, there it
Byron
is.
Katie.
And
Yeah,
and so I've heard amazing things about it, and that the way she prompts you can really get you to see a little deeper into patterns, why we do what we do, all that sort of stuff. But I don't know a lot. So I'm so happy to hear that you're involved in that. Can you explain a little more what you are getting out of doing the work with her and any insights that we could gain to help us along the way?
absolutely. Um, so the yoga teachings, like the causes of suffering are attachments. And Dharma often says it like all of our attachments are mental. Like we are attached to our stories. I love, do you ever listen to Krishnamurti?
Yes, I
I
have.
love, he often talks about like, who are you? Who you think you are is a collection of memories, right? Like these mental images, these stories, we identify as these, and these are attachments. Like we think I am this, and that person is that, and they shouldn't do this, and I need this, and I want this. And we're tethered to these beliefs. And what the work is a way. So her whole thing, her first book is called Loving What Is. It's about learning to love everything. So she says the ego is a frightened child looking for a home in yourself. And what we tend to do is when we first learn, okay, your attachments are causing suffering, then we try to push them away, which is aversion. And then this doesn't work, right? It's like we double down on them. No. So we have an unpleasant sensation in our body is a sign we're believing something that's not true. But then we push it away and it stays there. So the work is a loving way to meet these thoughts and to inquire. There's 4 questions. So say I was having the stressful thought, they don't care about me in a specific situation. Say I was somewhere and someone gave me a look and I think they don't care about me. So her first question is it true? And we're not meant to answer these quickly from our mind. It's a meditation. So you sit still, you anchor yourself in the situation, you see where you were, you notice what they did. They don't care about you. Is it true? And it might be yes, it might be no. Both answers are equal. And then the second question, can you absolutely know it's true? So if you said yes, can you know for certainty it's true? And sometimes I'm a yes and sometimes I'm a no on that. Both answers equal. Question 3 is how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? And this is where you really start. I find I really start to understand my ego. Like, oh, when I believe they don't care about me, what do you do? I like contract. I try to act in a way to impress them. I smile when I don't feel smiley, or I think they're wrong or whatever it is, like some way we tend to maybe go into victim mode, but you start to really notice how do you treat yourself? How do you treat them? What past images come to mind? What do you imagine for the future? And it's just not to be disappointed or frustrated, just to notice, hey, look, this is interesting. This is a world that's created by believing a thought. The fourth question is you imagine who would you be if it was impossible in that situation to believe that thought? So you're still there. They do the same thing. They look at you the same way, but it's impossible for you to have that thought. They
Wow.
don't care about me. And almost all the time in question 4, I find question 4 is where you get to experience the state of yoga or presence. Like I notice, oh, I can notice that they're scared, or I notice that they felt embarrassed, or I can see different things. But without the thought, I'm more in my body, I'm
Mhm.
grounded. So it's really beautiful. And then you turn the thought around, not because the opposite of the thought is necessarily true. No thoughts are ultimately true, but to notice, hey, they don't care about me. What's an opposite of that? They do care about me. Can I find some examples where they do care about me? And almost always you can. And then I don't care about me. Can I find some examples in that situation where I don't care about me? Oh, yeah, I'm sad. And instead of, noticing and turning into that, I'm pretending to be fine. Or, what do I notice? I don't care about them. Oh, yeah, I'm not noticing their feelings. I'm just wanting them to validate me. It's really fascinating. And when you can find evidence for all these opposites of that one thought that you believed, it really opens up your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. That sounds like a great little four-step protocol to not have chaos take over all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's love. The
Yeah.
ego never wants to do it. The ego's like, nope, I don't want to do it. And Katie recommends, don't do it on the most challenging thing, just any stress that comes up, just she says a worksheet a day keeps the insanity away.
And a worksheet meaning like you'll actually take the time to write this stuff down.
Yeah, she has on her website everything you need to do the work is free. So she has something called a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. And she says, we're always told not to judge, but the ego is judging. So she's like, she says, a way to actually stop the ego and stop the mind is to put the thoughts down on paper so you can see them. So when we don't see them, then they're just spinning, spinning. You can walk the whole day. You don't even know what you're thinking, but you're mad. You feel it,
Yes.
Yeah.
What are you noticing when you go back and read what you wrote a year ago, a week ago? What are some of the insights that you find you get when you go back and read over what you've written?
Delight.
Yeah.
There's often delight, compassion, a lot of self-compassion arises, like, oh, wow, like that's, you know, and it's often really funny. I've watched her facilitate people on really challenging worksheets, and it often gets to the point where they are laughing really hard
That's
about what
cool.
the
That's
ego
cool.
believed, with no disrespect to it. Like Dharma says often be grateful to have an ego. You need the ego to exist, but don't think it's you. Don't be confused by that.
That's cool. Well, how do you weave that into your yoga classes, or do you?
Well, I do a lot of workshops with it. So
Cool.
in the workshops, when we're talking about yoga philosophy, um, it really intertwines well with the understanding of the yoga philosophy and the koshas. This is all how to work with manomaya kosha, right? This this mental layer that's not really discerning. How can we meet it with compassion and with wisdom?
Yes. Good
And
point.
you know, I often say my first yoga teacher training, I came back a terrorist because I learned all these things about the yamas and the niyamas. And like, it's so easy about like, oh, that's not compassion and that and that and that and all these fingers. And I was like, oh, I'm even worse now than I was like, and, and really it's, the work isn't out there. The work is to come inside and to notice what can I not love yet? Where am I at war with reality?
Great point. Those are great pointers. Thank you so much. And then you had mentioned that you also do work with Eckhart Tolle. Have you actually met him in person or gone to a lecture that he's taught, or do you work more off of his books and audio?
Yeah, so he's done some 4-month courses. He did one on becoming a teacher of presence that I did a few years ago. He did another one on conscious manifestation that I did. So I've gone to a few. Those courses start with an in-person retreat, and then there's 3 months of training after. I went to a retreat with him at Omega last year as well. I've never like sat in a room and chatted. We're not buddies, but I've sat in a room. It's very, the same thing I share about Dharma, about being in that vibration. I experience it with Katie and Eckhart as well. And, I was thinking about it with Katie last time. Like, it's so easy to feel open and expansive and in this state of love in their presence. And they don't want us to just do it with them. And I was asking myself, what is the difference? And what came to me is, I perceive them as being awake or enlightened. So there's like this reverence and recognition of what's actually behind those eyes. And what if I looked at every single human that way? And
Yes.
I wonder, my hunch is that that's what cuts us off is as soon as I look at a human. And so it came to me the difference maybe between false humility and real humility, where, we're taught to be humble. So trying to win the favor of God, or so that we're seen as a good person or kind, like this fake humility that cuts us off versus what I recognize in those three is this real humility of recognizing what's looking back at you in all the forms, in all the bodies.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's funny because when you say that, it reminds me of my wife and I were in India and going to Mysore to go study with Pattabhi Joyce, and we hadn't met him yet, and we're having this feeling of like, okay, we're gonna go meet a big time guru, a big teacher. So I was nervous, but I was excited, and we get into the taxi, and I asked the taxi driver because I'm just like vibing on India, like whoa, and I said, do you have a guru? And he kind of said, everybody's guru,
Oh.
like, and I kind of just thought, oh, that's a really good answer,
Yeah.
because that's like you said, like you were just saying, to be able to look at everybody as, is it us projecting our desire for the person we're sitting with to be someone more than we hope we are, and versus, how much is it that projection? Another question I had the other day, I was walking my dog in the morning, and it was a really beautiful morning. It was just magic. And I thought, wow, it is so beautiful right now. And then I kind of, as I was looking at the trees and the sky, and I thought, but is the sky and are the trees like beautiful? Or is that my mind projecting beauty onto it? Like, is it intrinsic in the nature of manifestation, like Prakriti or the manifest universe? Is it actually beautiful? Or is it from my own human condition? Is it something that, like, beauty is something that the human feels? Because then if I try to analyze it from my dog's vision, like how does my dog, is she looking at the sky and going, wow, it's so beautiful today?
Hmm.
What do you think? Do you feel like beauty is coming from the human being, because as humans, we have this, like, we have love, we have anger, we have hate, we have joy, we have all these mixtures of emotions that we can feel. And I just wonder, I mean, I don't expect to have an answer here, but I just would love to hear your thoughts on, is beauty intrinsic in nature, and or is it something that is it actually stemming from your soul or your
Hmm.
spinal cord and brain?
Well, when you were saying that, I could feel the beauty that you were, yeah, like the beauty of your mind. And yeah, what came to me was like, yeah, to to love everything that way.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's the mind.
It's the mind.
That's my guess.
That's me
And I
too.
mean, I think this is what the
Yeah,
texts tell us
yeah,
too, is that
yeah,
everything we're seeing is empty. The mind is projecting onto this beautiful, ugly.
yeah,
I
yes.
remember years ago, I was in Bali. I was hanging out with these two women from Taiwan. We saw this beautiful rose, and I was, oh, it's so beautiful. And then a moment later, this big spider web, and I went, oh, spider web. And they said, no, same beauty. And I was like, oh, you're way more advanced than me. But
I
yeah,
love
it's,
that. That's a great story. Thank you. Love that stuff, right? Isn't that what's so cool about traveling internationally? Because of the cultural differences, it's like our Groundhog Day experience of, like, alarm goes off, hit the button, here I go, I
oh,
stand up, versus when you're overseas, it's like everything's a little different, and we just approach it a little differently, and those interactions that we have with people that give us an insight, like you just said, no, the spider web, look how beautiful that is too, like, I love that's what I love about travel. Have you been able to turn your experience of living at home, where your home is, into the feeling like you're always traveling?
mm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
I
does it?
have.
You work
I
on
have,
that?
I've wanted to, and I haven't yet. Yeah.
All right.
I
Good
often
point.
say
Good
that.
answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you say Groundhog Day is my favorite movie.
Is that not the best or what?
It's the best. And I love, like, there's this whole shift, like when the piano starts playing, like when he embraces creativity and just surrenders to be a karma yogi. And he's like, that guy's gonna fall out of the tree at this o'clock. Hold on. You know, he's less concerned about himself. And yeah, okay, I'm interested in this girl, but right now I got to catch this guy from the tree. I love it.
Isn't it great? I mean, sometimes I'll, like the real simple mundane things like, okay, I'm grabbing toothbrush, putting paste on, here I go, to
Mm.
then like stop and be like, I'm going to do something totally different that I never do. I'm going to put the toothbrush down on the sink and just stand for a second. You know what I mean? Like just to try to
Yeah.
break out of that constant pattern that can just be autopilot.
Uh-huh.
That's
This
cool.
is this is not related to that, but it
Tell
reminds
me.
me of the game I used to play when I was a kid. I was, because they'd say, "Oh, there's someone, everything you're doing, there's so many people on the planet, someone else is doing the same thing." And I would try to, like, I want to be the only person on the planet doing this. So I
Oh,
would
I love that.
try to make a shape, and I'm like, I wonder if I'm the only person on the planet moving like this and singing this song right now. And like, oh, maybe not. I don't know.
Oh, I love that. It's a good one. Good one. Oh my gosh, Sam, that's cool. So you have wonderful teachers. You get to study and practice with Dharma, Katie Byron, Eckhart Tolle. What is your current like? What do you get the most joy out of now in relation to when you work with students? What's the main avenue that you find is your way to really just kind of get in there with people and get this process going of helping people to think and feel and see the world in a new way.
Yeah, I love talking with humans. So I also, do you know Martha Beck?
I don't.
She's a coach. She has this training, like Wayfinder coach training, which is, basically, this difference between the social self, like what we're conditioned to, how we're supposed to live, who we're supposed to be, and the essential self, like what actually feels authentic and natural for us. And her training also uses the work of Byron Katie and some presence practices. So I really enjoy doing that kind of work with people. Um, and then sharing like psychic development and meditation. Have you done psychic development with Dharma?
I have not. I have not with Dharma. I remember when I first saw that he had that on his website, that he was offering that. I was very, I don't know what the right way to say this. I was like, what is that?
Yeah,
What is that? What could that even mean? And how could someone teach me to develop my psychic powers? And I even have more questions of like, what does that even mean to be psychic? And then do I even believe that people can be psychic? And so, no, to be very honest, I have not, and I would love to. And that was my next question. Noticed on your website that you're offering online psychic development training and or a workshop series that's happening. I believe this episode will be released a little after your start date, which is January 19th. But I'd love to hear your interpretation and understanding of what that means. Psychic development. I'd love to hear.
sure. Yeah, I thought the same thing first. So Dharma always says psychic doesn't mean like holding a crystal ball and seeing the future, but in really developing your intuition. So the psychic development series is um, intuitive development, and the psychic centers are the chakras. So when these energy centers are open and flowing, there's this intuition and things, we tend to think that everything happens by physical doing, by, the beef and the bones moving and, our bodies and minds forcing things to happen, where the belief behind the practice is that everything is according to our vibration. So it's more tuning our vibration to how we wish things to be. And then from that, things happen more efficiently. So Dharma often says, like, if you're an architect, you have to draw a blueprint first. before you build it. And he says the psychic development practice is where you actually, the techniques are to purify your energy and strengthen your aura, like your firewall. And then you imagine what you would like to happen. Um, I have really interesting, like the home I live in right now, I imagined living there and being able to, come and practice with Dharma the way I do, like these things. He talks about when he was in his guru's ashram, he was responsible for, he was like the handyman. And one day something was broken, he had to fix it. And his, he needed a 2x4, certain dimensions. And he just did the practice and he knew it will come. And then the next morning he went on a walk and someone had just thrown out in the garbage the exact dimensions he needed. And, he says maybe they were held on to that board they'd had it for years, but something in their vibration said, today, throw it out. Right. So it's how things are working in the subtle.
Yeah.
But he talks a lot about really when you're doing the practice, he says the best way is to keep your energy, your vibration high because same attracts same. So the real purpose of psychic development practice is to be more responsible with our vibration and our thoughts.
That's really interesting too, from the angle of if I sit and visualize something I'd like to manifest, that maybe that might actually be limiting me from what an even more interesting potential. So, like what you're saying is then instead of, I mean, it's kind of fun to visualize. Like, I guess I wanted to back up a little bit and see, like, I'll ask you a question in a second about how you landed in the house that you landed in. But like what you're saying in terms of like if I just focus on vibrating or feeling like I am at my highest self that and then waiting to see what the universe provides as opposed to universe, can you please provide me with this? Does
Mm,
that do you think that's true or does that make sense?
well, so when I do the practice, at first I was not comfortable imagining anything. So I would just sit at the end and imagine, like, I'd say, please help me to really understand the teachings. Most of the time when I do the practice, I tune into feeling not the specific, like, why do you think you want that? So when you want that, you'll feel connected or safe or supported. So sometimes, um, you know, if you're feeling lonely and you want companionship, imagining that companionship can tune you into the vibration of feeling that companionship. It doesn't necessarily, it has to be there, but it's instead of us vibrating with this imagined lack of it, it's tuning into. So you can either go, I don't know that I'm answering here.
You
So
are. You
sometimes
are.
there's, okay.
I know
So,
it's a difficult thing to put into words. That's why I think you're doing a great job. Keep going.
it's so often it's the qualities, like how do I want to feel? But if I can't feel that or I don't know how to feel it, a mental image can help get me there. Like, oh, if I imagine this, oh, Katie did this with a woman. I was with her at New Year's, and there was a woman that really wanted to have a baby and wasn't hadn't gotten pregnant. And Katie said, let's just sit for a moment. Imagine imagine your baby's here and you're holding her. And that's it. And she said, looking down at her and feel the intimate connection. And as she was doing that, I joined in and did that meditation too, and just could feel this love. And Katie said, whenever you want a baby, do that. And this woman already had another child. And she said, the child you have in form is just as imagined as this one. Because, all the story, all this, when we talk about like, is the day beautiful? That's imagined, right? That's our mind putting something on it. It's the same. So it's really, I think the practice is learning to use, Dharma says, imagine the very best, or you learn how to imagine better. We spend so much time imagining lack and separation and disconnect. And if you really sit in and just imagine, it feels good and it changes the way you behave when you're coming from that place of being feeling whole and connected versus lack and scared. That,
Great answer. I think you did it. I think you did it. That
oh,
was,
good.
that was good. You know, it's funny because I was with what were one of the some of the rhetoric. Well, you're in the U.S. right now. Some of the rhetoric that keeps popping up over and over. We're so divided. The country is so divided. And so
Mm,
the more you keep hearing it, and the more you keep saying it to your keep saying it to my friends and wife, and like, oh my gosh, we're so divided, aren't we? Isn't it crazy how divided we are? And then the other day, I was kind of like, but wait a minute, of course we are. If I keep saying that, like, so I
yeah.
mean, maybe the way we turn this around is we start saying we are not divided. We're
Let's
not
find some
divided.
examples right now.
What's that?
Let's find some examples. So
Oh
we're
my
so
gosh,
connected or we're not
let's do
divided.
it.
Like, look
Let's
at
do it.
me and you.
Yeah,
We've never even met before, and we're talking on this
yeah, good point.
thing.
Yeah, you came in with full trust, like you don't know me. We've never talked before. We had like a couple words to say, "Can you do it at this time?" And you said, "Yeah, I can." And so that's a really good point. I like that you're bringing that up too, just the fact that we're willing to share humanness without any reservations about what does she want? What does she, you know what I mean? Like what I don't know. I agree with you. I think that's a very cool part. What else comes to mind for you where we're not separated?
Not separated. We have some of the same questions. I love when you said like, is it a beautiful day? Or am I just, like we
Yeah.
we have the same curiosities.
Yeah.
We're interested in, yeah.
Good point. Good point. And funnily enough, too, when I interview Canadians, I had someone say to me, well, are they going to talk to you because you're American? You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't know, like if you watch a certain news story, it might be like, there's all this feuding going on but I don't feel like you or I even thought about like, we're just like we're just two people that like yoga and we're excited to talk about it. Like, how could we see a division between the fact that there's a line on the map where you're at that part of the on the land over there and I'm down here and there's a bunch of lines between you and I, right? Bunch of lines, but are they really lines? Do those lines really exist?
Don't know where you find them if you go for a walk. I don't know.
Mm. Ooh, I like that. That's a good one.
When I'm in a plane, I can't see them.
Yeah. When I drive between Florida and Georgia, I cross a sign that says, "Thank you for visiting Florida." And then as I go about a mile further, it says, "Welcome to Georgia." I guess there was a line somewhere there. But isn't that interesting though when we look at the way the amount of like warring going on over lines and division between my side of the wall and your side of the wall? Or
Mm.
this is my house and don't I have a wall here to separate me from you outside up there and then all that stuff that's going on right now. It's interesting. I know I'm a dreamer, so and I understand where people might be like, come on dude, stop dreaming, but I can't stop dreaming.
Yeah. And I think also, I mean, what I kind of going back to some of that work of Katie is working on where are those divisions inside my own mind,
Mm,
inside me, where are those
mm.
imaginary lines?
Ooh, that's interesting too, huh? Just going within the mind and looking for oh my gosh.
Yeah. She often says like work on the one person you can, the one you actually can change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Well, what I noticed that I read your website. What can you talk to me a little bit about your one-to-one coaching? So you offer that via online. So I'm gathering like I could sign up and take a coaching session with you. If I were to sign up and take a coaching session with you, how would what you and I are doing right now differ from what you do in a session?
You'd have an objective.
Good answer.
So there would be something, some change or some shift or something that you would want to explore. And so the questions and the work we would do would be around that specific objective that you set. And then I would be there as curious open space. So asking some questions, maybe using some tools or techniques to help direct you towards your inner wisdom and your answer of it. So right now I'm sharing a lot of my opinions in a coaching session. I wouldn't share. I might ask like, "Oh, I'm having a thought. Would you like to hear it?" And if you say no, great. And then just asking more questions and noticing what I notice about what you're saying, what sticks out and
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool.
And I also um on Mondays, I do a half hour session. So it's people sign up for the month. It's called Love in Action, and it's a reset. We do a little meditation, and then we talk about some concept in how to actually live our practice off the mat. So that's like an easier way to kind of come in and get to have a sense of what it's like to work with me.
Yeah, that's cool. Very
Mhm.
nice. What other things do you employ and or offer? I feel like once like you've been in the game, oh, I don't want to use that terminology. You've been working in this field for a long time. And when you work in a field for a long time, I don't know, one of the transitions that seems to happen for a lot of people is like we get really stuck on this one thing and we think this is the end all be all thing. And then we stick with it a couple more years. And we go, well, let me learn something else. And then before you know it, we have this toolbox that has a whole bunch of tools in it. And then we start actually getting good at knowing which tools to pull out for which job. Do you have more tools in your toolbox that you typically like to pull from?
Hmm.
Or do you have a very, do you like have two tools in there? Like you're like, I got a
Well,
hammer and a
a
saw
lot.
and I can do it all with these two. I don't need a bunch of tools. All I
There's
need
a
is one.
measuring tape
Yeah.
and an X-Acto knife.
Right?
There's, yeah, a lot of inquiry, a lot of like yoga philosophy, meditation, um, self-reflection, a
Can
lot of,
you define Kriya for us and explain what your understanding of Kriya is?
oh, well, cleansing technique, like what needs to be cleansed. That's kind of a funny word because we also, isn't that interesting? The ultimate Kriya is likely presence, like awake awareness. So if we're able to access that place of, let's say I'm feeling a sensation in my body that feels like separate or different or agitating. If I can drop into awake awareness and hold loving space for it, I think that's the ultimate Kriya. That
That's a great answer. I've never thought of it like that.
hmm, no enemy, nothing separate to clean, no problem. And
Nice.
then, when we're having a hard time accessing that, it's so interesting because we can say like mantras that, can Kriya to cleanse the mind, but then it can imply that there's something wrong with the mind, that we're fighting it. So never to do any of those techniques as a battle, but just as an act of love. So out of love, I'll practice these mantras. But if we do it with that, like, I got to get rid of these thoughts, pushing them away, then we're in war.
Yeah, great point. You're kind of centering the objective, because I believe you used the word objective just a moment ago. What's our objective?
Yeah,
Is that the word you
yeah,
used? Yeah. You're
yeah, yeah.
centering around like the objective. What is the objective of the Kriya versus, okay, now I'm going to cleanse my part of my body or cleanse, but I think that's interesting. I get that.
I think it comes back to when Dharma says do it as an offering. So instead of doing this practice because something's bad or wrong or I need to change me or, from that striving place, just offering the mantras, offering the pranayama, offering the techniques, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Nice. How has your own experience with injury and healing helped shape how you work with students who are in pain or recovering from setbacks?
Oh,
I just threw a
I
spanner
don't
at you.
know. Um,
I had that. I'll be very honest. I had that question already crafted, and I just waited to kind of pull it out. So I changed tracks really quick on you there. So I apologize for shifting so quick. But
okay.
yeah, well, I guess let me help make it easier for you. Have you ever felt pain before?
Yes. Okay, the answer's coming, I think, to
Okay.
question one.
Okay.
The thing that made the pain so intense was the hatred of it. The belief
Mm,
that it was wrong or bad or shouldn't have been there or was ruining my life, getting in the way of my life. Um, and I do my best with students when they're having an injury to try what would it be like to love that part as opposed to being mad at it or saying, my stupid knee. Oh, no, no, no. Shh, it hears you. Don't, I think, yeah, I really prolonged how long I was in pain because I was just so mad about it. It wasn't supposed to happen. It wasn't what I had planned. And yeah.
yeah. Good answer. Good answer. I think that's really smart, actually. I know when I've been recently with gratitude, when I wake up and if I feel pain, instead of in trying to catch my mind right when it starts to go down the, oh no, how am I going to do this today? And then right away, this morning, my back. So I was like, uh, I'm grateful I have a back.
Oh,
I'm grateful I don't really like how it feels right now, but at least I have a back. I'm grateful that, okay, I'm sitting up right now. Okay, I can sit up. Okay, I can actually move around. So I think I agree with you. Like what that seems like what you're talking about too. Like, but I really agree with what you said as well, that like just being so angry at the pain. Like, oh my
there's
gosh.
a,
Yeah.
a crazy thing Katie says that all pain is remembered or anticipated. And
Whoa.
after the first,
Remembered?
all
All
pain is
pain is
remembered
remembered.
or
So
anticipated.
you feel pain. Oh, so I guess remembrance and anticipation. So we're either like going past or we're going future. So pain is either me still holding on to the fact that it was painful before, anticipated, I'm just figuring it's got to hurt today too because it hurt. Is that where we're going here? Am I getting it
Ah,
right? Tell me what you think.
I don't know. I'll tell you my experience.
Right.
So the first time after I heard her saying that quite a bit, that I used to get migraines a lot, and I had a migraine and I was feeling it as pain. And then so aware, I imagined, what if these were the first sensations you ever had? You have no sensations to experience them. So this is the first time experiencing a head. And when I got really still and experienced those sensations without past sensations to compare it to, it actually wasn't pain. It actually felt fine. So
Mm,
I can see, like, when I have pain, there's this duality of a remembered sensation, and this current sensation isn't as good as that remembered sensation. Or and then also, like, or anticipated, remembering, okay, now because of this current sensation, I'm imagining XYZ won't be able to happen. Or some some type of comparison that's made from grasping onto a mental image of past or future and comparing it to what's happening now.
that's a good insight. Ooh,
It's interesting. Like, if
I'm gonna
you
work with that
feel
one.
pain, like,
Yeah.
can you get completely present right in the center of it? It's really hard to stop because the mind, when there's pain, it's just spitting up so many stories. Oh no, now this, now this, now this, now this, like it's a story generating machine. But if you imagined, or, still let those stories go, but instead of letting your attention go towards them, if you stay right in the center, is there still pain?
That's really good advice. I can't wait to try to apply your idea tomorrow morning.
I hope you don't have to.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm already anticipating. Ah, all right. So I got lot of work to do, clearly. I have one more question for you, and then we'll start to kind of go toward our close. And what is your hope for the future of yoga communities and practitioners as we continue to evolve our understanding of mind, body, and spirit?
This is a funny word because I also just listened to um, Katie rip into the word hope.
Rip
She's,
in, baby, rip in. I'm okay with it. You're right. I mean,
it was
yeah.
it
What,
was
like,
great.
making fun of this idea of hope because I'm not present if I'm. I understand where you're going, so I need to hear what you have to say.
What she said is like whenever you have a hope, I hope blah 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 that you're stealing the now.
Mm,
That it has this undercurrent of right now isn't enough, or that now, you know,
yes.
that something that there's something better, something would be better. And I also, there's an amazing teacher, Susan Jeffers. She has a great book. She's not alive anymore, as far as I know. Um, Embracing Uncertainty. And there was a really good exercise she shared about hope and wonder. And she said, when you hope, there's something you hope for. She said, there's infinite options in every moment. But if you're hope, you're like saying, this is the one outcome I want. And then it makes the all other infinite minus one wrong. But I'll still answer the question because, it's still a lovely question. Like,
I'll be
um,
a little more careful next time I craft my
no,
questions for you.
no,
I know, no, I'm just having fun with you.
you know, I've noticed in my practice just how it's meant to be about love. And I think ultimately it's about coming home to love, like this joyful, like unconditional love that we really are. And my practice started off so strict, and still sometimes I can be so strict and harsh on myself. And so maybe my hope is that we could all lighten up and just enjoy our messiness and our so-called flaws. And you said you didn't like that word game, but maybe this whole game, this whole Leela, this play of existing in a human body, and just let it be more light and fun and messy as it is.
Yes. Wow, Sam, so fun. Thank you
Yeah,
so
this was
much.
really fun. Thanks.
You threw so many great ideas our way, and I really think all the listeners are going to be so happy to try some of these ideas out. I think probably what good advice is like just pick one of these things and just actually practice it and try it.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Sam. Well, I look forward to your adventures that you're going to have. Are you going to go down to Dharma Studio tomorrow? It's the evening. It's New York. What time are we now? It's like 6:35 p.m. You're in New York City. You're probably going to be going out at 2 a.m. and disco
Yeah, I'm
dancing all
going
night.
out clubbing at 2 and
And then be at the studio at 5 a.m. and just ready to go.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate.
Still,
Yeah.
Dharma's off tomorrow, so I'll be back there Saturday.
Oh, fair enough. So you do have the day off tomorrow.
Yeah,
All
so.
right. Cool. Well, you are going out tonight then. I was right.
No, my very, very favorite friend who I'm staying with just got home, and so we'll visit and play for a little bit. And
Cool.
yeah,
Cool.
it'll be great.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sam, and I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Same as well.